Jason Beck. My father, Ron Beck. We practice with the U of R Kendo and Iaido Club. We instruct the Iaido section of it. Iaido is a Japanese martial art. It's part of the Budo, the martial way, series of martial arts designed to improve character and self. It's the art of drawing and cutting with the sword in a single action, and the art of harmonizing oneself through action. Drawing is removing the sword from the side. Cutting is the actual act where you cut someone or something with the sword. In Japan, a lot of the different provinces and areas each had their own sword style that they would use for battle and also for the development of character and self. These styles were passed down over the years, and finally they were consolidated into a standardized curriculum. This would have happened in the early 1900s. Originally there were 7 forms in standard curriculum, kata basically, and they've since expanded up to 12. A kata is a set of prearranged moves. In Iaido it will consist of a draw, a cut, often a finishing cut as well, then chiburi, which is flicking the blood off of the blade, and noto, which is returning this blade to its sheath. In Iaido, although we are practicing something that would result in killing someone, there is still a spirit in the beginning of presenting strength so that the opponent will back away. The sword that gives life. You want the opponent to recognize your strength and to end the fight on their own before they come to harm. In Iai, the object is to win with the sword still in its sheath. You don't want the enemy to force you to draw. You want them to back away to keep their life. And you develop your character and your skills for that reason. If you look at the older styles of swordsmanship that Iaido is based upon, it was strictly a battlefield art. Iaido, as part of the Budo, the martial way, was intended for character development. So from the start of that, the intent was to prevent a fight. You would prevent a fight by presenting strength, showing the opponent that they're outmatched from the start so that they don't even try to fight you. Iaido and Kendo have more differences than just the obvious differences in equipment and practice. Kendo, you practice with a partner. It's also a competitive sport. You have a bamboo sword called a shinai, and you attempt to score points by striking certain targets. Iaido has no opponent except for one strictly in your imagination. Kendo would more accurately represent the back and forth of an actual fight. Iaido is much less even because your opponent is always slower than you, so you always cut them down. Your moves always go first, whereas Kendo, you have to move quickly so that way you beat the opponent with the strike. Yes, Kendo would represent more a fight that is ongoing. Iaido would be more representative of a fight that begins and ends very quickly. There isn't very much back and forth. The two forms are often encouraged to be learned together. The Iaido kata were in fact partially designed to help Kendo students learn how to place their cuts properly. Iaido is a very precise art. You need to be able to get exact angles and targets correct. So there's a very strong encouragement for Iaido and Kendo students to learn from each other. Iaido no longer has a battlefield application. No one's going to be walking around the streets with a sword anymore, or using a sword in battle. Nowadays, all you have is the practice. Either practicing the kata, or there are a few paired forms, which are prearranged moves between two people. The purpose of practicing Iaido now is to develop yourself. Like all martial arts, being able to succeed at something is a confidence builder. And that's something important in a world where there's a lot of uncertainty and people aren't always sure about their exact place. Things change a lot. Iaido's benefits would mostly be of a mental and spiritual nature. There is some body movement, but I wouldn't call it enough to be exercise. It is more useful in that you learn to be very precise and very aware of your own movements. You also learn to be very aware of the movements of others. So these are the benefits that I would most directly trace to Iai. Also the ability to take criticism, as you will receive a lot of this in Iaido. Observation and perception are huge parts of Iaido. You need to be able to determine if a blade angle is maybe just a little bit off from where its target is, or maybe not exactly in the right spot. And quite often you have to do it in the middle of some form that's ongoing, so you don't have a lot of time to stop and check. Really, anyone who has the interest and the patience for coming to learn Iaido could come and learn. The ideal student would be someone with a good range of physical ability and awareness. I have yet to actually have one, but I've been told that dancers make very good Iaido students. They pick up the movements very quickly, and they're very aware of their bodies and where it is at all times. At its very basic level, the equipment you need for Iaido would be just an obi, a belt, and a wooden sword, a bokken. However, there is a full uniform, the uwagi, the top, the hakama, the pants, and there is a lot more to Iaido that you will not pick up without taking on the full equipment. After a while, it would be good to switch over to a Iaido, a practice sword. This is zinc aluminum. It does not carry an edge. Eventually, a student will need to pick up a shinken, which is a steel blade with an edge. That is obviously not recommended at first. The student membership is entirely University of Rochester students, mostly undergraduates, but there are some graduate students as well. We certainly welcome more students at the club. Anyone at the University of Rochester is more than welcome to stop by the Gergen Athletic Center and see us during our practices. A student of Iaido should have a good appreciation of precision, working closer towards perfection, but perhaps not quite getting there, because we're always working a little bit harder to fix every little detail. And I think they should have a sincere desire to want to improve themselves. Just encourage people to come and see something new and different.